The silent woolly HFY. They came in the night, silent vessels sliding into Earth's orbit with technology that made them nearly invisible to conventional detection systems. But Earth's defenses were no longer conventional. Contact confirmed. 3 vessels, approximately 300 kilometers above the North Pacific, announced Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen, her eyes fixed on the quantum detection array that only 6 people on the planet knew existed. Admiral James Reeves nodded, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the underground command center screens. Classification: consistent with Galactic assembly scout ships. Pattern matches the Orovian design we detected last year. This wasn't the first time aliens had visited Earth. The first documented contact had occurred 15 years ago, a brief, seemingly friendly encounter that ended with the visitors hastily departing after what appeared to be some kind of internal disagreement. They left behind subtle monitoring devices in Earth orbit, devices they thought humans couldn't detect. They were wrong. They're maintaining standard observation protocol. Chen continued. No active scanning beyond atmospheric analysis. Good, Reeves said. Let them see what we want them to see. What the aliens saw was a planet still burning fossil fuels, fighting internal wars, and just beginning to explore its own solar system with primitive chemical rockets. What they didn't see was the truth. A civilization that had made extraordinary technological leaps by studying the few pieces of alien technology left behind from the first contact. Hidden facilities beneath the Antarctic ice shelf, within the Marianas Trench, and inside hollowed-out mountains housed humanity's true technological achievements. Quantum computing, gravity manipulation, dark energy reactors, all developed in absolute secrecy, while the world maintained an elaborate facade of technological underdevelopment. The assembly still thinks we're harmless primitives, said Director Eliza Washington as she entered the command center, her formal business attire contrasting with the military uniforms surrounding her. As the civilian head of Earth's Unified Defense Initiative, she oversaw humanity's greatest secret, preparation for the day when the visitors might return with less than friendly intentions. Their loss, Reeves responded. How's Project Prometheus coming along? Washington's lips curved into a slight smile. The fleet is ready, Admiral. 12 vessels fully operational, 8 more in final assembly. Project Prometheus represented humanity's insurance policy, a hidden fleet built using reverse-engineered alien technology, constructed in massive underground facilities and orbital shipyards disguised as mining operations. Ships with capabilities that would shock the Galactic Assembly if they knew. And they still haven't detected the lunar base. Reeves asked. The quantum shielding is holding. As far as they can tell, our moon is just a dead rock we occasionally visit with our primitive rockets. In reality, the far side of the moon housed humanity's most advanced military installation, a combination shipyard, weapons development center, and training facility for Earth's secret space force. Our guests will be leaving in approximately 6 hours if they follow their usual pattern, Chen noted. Standard observation, collection of atmospheric samples, then back to wherever they came from. Keep me informed, Washington said. I have a Security Council briefing in an hour. The UN Security Council was one of the few governing bodies fully aware of Earth's situation. After first contact, the world's major powers had made an unprecedented decision: to unite in secret while maintaining the appearance of division. Humanity would present itself as fractured and primitive while secretly preparing for whatever the galaxy might throw at them. They're calling it the quarantine theory, said Dr. Maya Patel, the lead xenolinguist who had partially decoded the aliens' language from their brief transmissions. Based on the communications we intercepted, Earth has been designated as a developing world under quarantine. The conference room beneath Geneva held representatives from 20 nations, all members of the Hidden World Security Council. Quarantined why? Asked the French representative. They consider us dangerous, Washington explained. Not because of our technology, which they believe is primitive, but because of our biology and psychology. We evolved on what they classify as a death world: high gravity, aggressive pathogens, extreme weather patterns, and high levels of background radiation compared to most inhabited worlds. They're afraid of us, the Russian representative concluded. Even with our supposed primitive technology. Essentially, yes. Intercepts suggest they believe species from death worlds like Earth tend to be more aggressive, adaptable, and unpredictable. They think we're potentially destabilizing to their galactic community. The Chinese representative leaned forward. So they watch us, but make no contact. How long will this quarantine last? Based on what we've decoded, possibly centuries, Dr. Puddle replied. They typically wait until a species has matured sufficiently before considering contact. Meanwhile, we build our strength, said the American representative. How long until the Prometheus fleet is fully operational? 6 months, Washington answered. But we're still working on faster-than-light communication. Our ships can travel using the reverse-engineered drive systems, but communicating across those distances remains challenging. The meeting continued as they discussed resource allocation, recruitment protocols, and contingency plans. The world maintained its charade, nations squabbling over resources, making only modest public technological advances, while beneath the surface, humanity united and prepared. Commander John Kagawa stood in the observation deck of the HSV Defiant, the flagship of humanity's secret fleet. Through the transparent aluminum viewport, he watched as technicians in zero-gravity suits completed the final external weapons installations. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" asked Captain Maya Rodriguez as she joined him. 20,000 tons of humanity's finest engineering, Kagawa agreed. Hard to believe we built her entirely in secret. The Defiant represented the pinnacle of human ingenuity, a vessel designed for exploration and diplomacy, but armed and armored for war if necessary. Its dark hull absorbed rather than reflected light, making it nearly invisible against the backdrop of space without active cloaking. "The crew is running final system checks," Rodriguez said. "We'll be ready for the shakedown cruise next week." "And the aliens still have no idea we're up here?" Kagawa asked. "The lunar mass shadow hides us completely. As far as they know, humans are still playing with chemical rockets and dreaming of reaching Mars someday." Both officers laughed, but there was tension beneath their amusement. Humanity was walking a dangerous line. If the Galactic Assembly discovered their deception, no one knew how they might react. The ship's AI interrupted their conversation. "Captain Rodriguez, incoming priority communication from Earth Command." Rodriguez frowned. "Unscheduled communications were rare. Put it through to my office." "Commander, you should join me." In the captain's office, Admiral Reeves' face appeared on the secured display. His expression was grim. "Captain, Commander, we've intercepted something you need to see." The screen split, showing a weak transmission. A desperate alien face, translucent skin rippling with what appeared to be fear. "This is Administrator Hyan of New Lazuria Colony. We are under attack by hegemony forces. They've breached our defenses. They're killing everyone. Our coordinates are Sector 87, Quadrant 3, Planet 5. Help us. They're killing everyone." The message repeated twice before ending in static. "This was broadcast on all frequencies," Reeves explained, "including some that the Assembly supposedly monitors. It was picked up by our deep space array 2 hours ago." "Any response from Assembly vessels?" Rodriguez asked. "None detected. According to our intelligence, the nearest Assembly peacekeeping force is at least 6 days away at their standard FTL speeds. And we're 3 days away at full burn," Kagawa calculated quickly. Reeves nodded. "Exactly. This puts us in a difficult position. These Lazurians are clearly a peaceful species under attack. We have the means to help them, but doing so would expose our true technological capabilities to the galaxy." Rodriguez and Kagawa exchanged glances. "What are our orders, sir?" Rodriguez asked. "The Security Council is debating that right now," Reeves replied. "But I want the Defiant and the Intrepid ready for immediate deployment. If the order comes, you'll lead the response." "Understood, sir," Rodriguez said. "We'll be ready." After the Admiral signed off, Kagawa looked at his captain. "This could change everything." "Yes," Rodriguez agreed. "The question is, are we ready for the galaxy to know what humanity really is?" The Security Council debate was heated. Representatives from 20 nations argued the merits and risks of intervention. "If we reveal ourselves now, we lose our strategic advantage," argued the German representative. "The element of surprise has been our greatest asset. But can we call ourselves human if we ignore genocide?" countered the Nigerian representative. "These Lizurians broadcast on all frequencies, begging for anyone to help." President Elena Vasquez of the United States, who currently chaired the council, listened to both sides. Finally, she raised her hand for silence. "I've heard all perspectives, and I understand the risks. But I believe there are moments that define who we are as a species. This is one of them." She paused, looking around the room. "The quarantine was never our choice. It was imposed on us by beings who judged us without knowing us. Perhaps it's time they learned what humans really stand for." She turned to Director Washington. "Prepare the Prometheus fleet. Humanity is about to introduce itself to the galaxy." Washington nodded, a mix of concern and determination on her face. "Yes, Madam President." As the council adjourned, Washington approached President Vasquez privately. "This will change everything. Once we cross this line, there's no going back." "I know," Vasquez replied, "but some lines need to be crossed. Send the order, Eliza. Let's show the galaxy what Deathworlders really stand for." The unexpected is HFY. The HSV Defiant and HSV Intrepid disengaged from their lunar berths, their dark hulls barely visible against the blackness of space. Each ship carried a crew of 200, elite personnel drawn from nations across Earth, trained in secret for years for a moment they weren't sure would ever come. "All systems operational," reported Commander Kagawa from his station on the Defiance bridge. "Quantum drives ready for activation." Captain Rodriguez sat in the command chair, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. "Signal the Intrepid we're proceeding according to plan. Set course for the Lizurian colony." "Course set," confirmed the navigation officer. Rodriguez took a deep breath. "Engage quantum drive." The stars outside the viewport stretched into lines as the ships accelerated beyond light speed, using technology that humanity had studied and perfected in secret for over a decade. The first human vessels to officially leave Earth's solar system were on a rescue mission that would reveal their existence to the galaxy. 3 days later, the human ships dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Lizurian system. Long-range sensors immediately detected multiple vessels in orbit around the 5th planet. 7 ships of unknown configuration, reported Lieutenant Chen, now serving as the Defiance sensor officer. Based on silhouettes and energy signatures, they match what we believe to be hegemony warships. The hegemony was one of several factions that the humans had identified through intercepted communications, a militaristic alliance that operated at the fringes of assembly space, often targeting vulnerable colonies. "Life signs on the planet?" Rodriguez asked. Chen studied her readings, approximately 3,000 concentrated in what appears to be a settlement. Another 500 life signs scattered across the ships in orbit. The colony appears to be under occupation. Rodriguez turned to her communications officer. "Open a channel to the hegemony vessels." The officer worked his console. "Channel open, Captain." Rodriguez straightened in her chair. "This is Captain Maya Rodriguez of the human vessel Defiant. The Lizurian colony is now under our protection. Cease all hostile actions and withdraw from the system immediately." For nearly a minute, there was no response. Then a harsh, guttural voice replied. "Unknown vessel, this is Warlord Crag of the Hegemony. This system is now hegemony territory. Depart immediately or be destroyed." Rodriguez smiled grimly. "I was hoping you'd say something like that." transmit recognition protocols to the Intrepid. The two human vessels accelerated toward the planet, their advanced drives allowing maneuverability that the hegemony ships couldn't match. 3 enemy vessels broke formation to intercept them. "They're charging weapons," Kagawa reported. "Defensive systems active," Rodriguez ordered. "Target their propulsion and weapon systems only. Let's try to minimize casualties." The hegemony ships fired first, energy beams that would have crippled vessels of similar size. But the human shift shields, based on reverse-engineered alien technology and improved by Earth's scientists, absorbed the impacts with minimal effect. "Shields holding at 92%, reported the defense officer. "Return fire," Rodriguez commanded. Precision strikes. The Defiant fired quantum-guided projectiles that struck with pinpoint accuracy, disabling the lead hegemony vessel's main engines and weapons arrays without destroying the ship itself. The Intrepid performed similar surgical strikes on the other 2 interceptors. Aboard his command ship, Warlord Crag watched in disbelief as 3 of his vessels were effectively neutralized in less than a minute. These unknown ships moved like nothing he had ever seen. Their weapons struck with impossible precision, and their shields withstood concentrated fire from multiple vessels. "All ships, concentrate fire on the lead vessel," he ordered. The remaining hegemony ships launched a barrage of energy weapons and missiles. The human vessels wove through the assault, their eye-assisted navigation systems predicting and avoiding the incoming fire. "Intrepid is moving to protect the colony," Kagawa reported. "They're establishing a defensive perimeter." Rodriguez nodded. "Take us directly to the hegemony command ship. Let's end this quickly." The Defiant accelerated toward Crag's vessel, absorbing damage that would have destroyed most ships. When within range, it fired a specialized electromagnetic pulse weapon designed to temporarily disable rather than destroy. On the hegemony command ship, systems failed across the board as the pulse washed over it. Emergency lights flickered on as Crag demanded reports from his panicking crew. "Unknown vessel is hailing us again," his communications officer reported. Crag snarled in frustration. "Put it through." Rodriguez's face appeared on his screen. "Warlord Crag, your ships are disabled, your forces on the ground are cut off, and our second vessel has established a defensive shield over the Lizurian colony. I suggest you reconsider your position." "Who are you?" Crag demanded. "What species dares interfere with hegemony operations?" "We're humans," Rodriguez replied simply. "From Earth, a planet your Galactic Assembly has kept under quarantine because they think we're too dangerous to join galactic society." She paused. Perhaps they were right. On the Lizurian colony, the surviving colonists watched in awe as hegemony troops were systematically disarmed by precision strikes from orbit. Small, non-lethal projectiles disabled their weapons and armor, leaving them defenseless as human shuttles landed to secure the settlement. Administrator Liana, who had assumed leadership after Hyen's death, stood trembling as armored figures emerged from the first shuttle. The translator built into her communication device struggled to process their language, but eventually rendered their words. "I am Commander John Kagawa of Earth. We received your distress call. The hegemony forces have been neutralized, and medical teams are inbound to assist your wounded." Liana's translucent skin rippled with colors of shock and disbelief. "Earth? But Earth is quarantined. How did you?" Kagawa removed his helmet, revealing his human face. "Let's just say we don't always follow rules we didn't agree to. Your people needed help. We came." Tears formed in Liana's large eyes, a biological response common to both their species. "They killed so many of us, said we were in the way of their mining operations. No one answered our calls. Except you." More human shuttles landed, bringing medical personnel and supplies. The humans worked quickly, treating wounded Lizurians with technology that the colonists had never seen before. "Why would you risk breaking quarantine for us?" Liana asked. "You don't even know our species." Kagawa's expression was solemn. "Because that's what humans do. We help when we can. The Assembly thinks Deathworlders like us are dangerous, and maybe we are to those who prey on the innocent. Word spread quickly through Galactic Assembly channels. The quarantined Deathworlders had somehow developed FTL technology in secret, built warships without detection, and decisively defeated a hegemony battle group. More shocking still, they had done it to protect a species they had never met. On the Assembly's central world, emergency sessions were called as leaders tried to understand how they had so severely underestimated the humans. Surveillance data was reviewed, intelligence reports scrutinized, and blame assigned for the failure to recognize Earth's true progress. Meanwhile, in orbit around the Lizurian colony, Captain Rodriguez received an incoming transmission on an official Assembly channel. "This is High Counselor Vreen of the Galactic Assembly," announced a tall, slender being with silver-blue skin. "Your presence in this system represents a severe violation of quarantine protocols. You will withdraw immediately and return to your designated system." Rodriguez kept her expression neutral. "High Counselor, we responded to a distress call that your forces ignored. The Lizurian colony was under attack, its people being slaughtered. Would you have preferred we stayed home and let them die?" Vreen's expression was difficult to read, but his tone conveyed displeasure. The situation was being assessed. Assembly peacekeepers were en route. 6 days away, by our calculations, Rodriguez countered. The colony would have been completely destroyed by then. We arrived in 3. The quarantine exists for a reason, Captain. Deathworld species like yours need time to mature beyond their aggressive tendencies before joining interstellar society. Rodriguez leaned forward. "With respect, High Counselor, we just demonstrated remarkable restraint. We disabled the hegemony ships rather than destroying them. We used non-lethal methods to subdue their ground forces. Perhaps you've misjudged us. This incident will be reviewed by the full Assembly," Vreen stated. "Until then, your vessels are instructed to return to Earth immediately." Rodriguez smiled. "I'm afraid we can't comply with that order, Counselor. We've received a formal request for protection from the Lizurian colonial government. As Earth is not a signatory to Assembly protocols, we are free to enter into bilateral agreements with any willing species." Vreen's composure finally broke. "You cannot simply ignore established galactic order." "We're not ignoring it," Rodriguez replied calmly. "We're changing it. Earth is ready to join the galactic community, but as equals, not as primitives under quarantine. The Lizurians will be under our protection until a formal treaty can be established between our worlds." After the transmission ended, Commander Kagawa joined Rodriguez on the bridge. "Well, that went about as expected. Did you finish discussions with the Lizurian leadership?" she asked. He nodded. "They're eager to establish formal diplomatic relations. They're also willing to share their knowledge of the Assembly structure and protocols in exchange for our protection." "Our first alien allies," Rodriguez mused. "Not how we expected to make our galactic debut." "Sometimes the best introductions are unexpected," Kagawa replied. "We showed the galaxy exactly who we are, not the aggressive Deathworlders they feared, but protectors willing to stand up for those who can't defend themselves." 3 months later, a formal treaty was signed between Earth and Lizuria. The first official interstellar agreement in human history took place not on Earth or at some Assembly headquarters, but on the colony the humans had saved. Earth revealed more of its fleet, 20 vessels in total, each built with technology that had been developed in secret during decades of quarantine. Assembly observers watched with poorly concealed shock as Earth diplomats arrived aboard ships that theoretically shouldn't exist. President Vasquez addressed the gathered representatives from both worlds, and the Assembly observers permitted to attend. "Today marks humanity's true first contact," she declared. "Not the brief visit we received years ago, but a meaningful partnership between two species who choose to see the best in each other." The Galactic Assembly decided we weren't ready for the stars. They were wrong. She turned to Administrator Liana, who now led the recovering colony. "From this day forward, Earth and Lizuria stand together. We offer our knowledge, our strength, and our friendship. And to any who would threaten peace in this galaxy, we offer fair warning. The Deathworlders are watching, and we will answer when called. The galaxy would never be the same. The species quarantined for being too dangerous had emerged from isolation not as conquerors, but as defenders, unexpected saviors who had revealed themselves not out of ambition, but out of compassion. And that perhaps was the most surprising revelation of all.